And I know I'm much louder, so now you can relax and listen a lot better, right? Now, having met like 7,700 of you or 800 of you, I should just say 8,000, that's it. I've met 8,000 of you. So I've been trying to figure out what is the thing that brings us together? Like, what is the same thing that we all share that makes us freedom people? Well, it's really hard to figure out because we're not the same religion, ethnicity, age, we have totally different backgrounds economically and all that sort of stuff. One thing we all don't do is watch mainstream media, unless we're watching it to see what other people are seeing. But what I realise, it's not something that brings us together. It's actually it's a character that we all share, that we all have, to different variations. But we all actually care a lot about everyone. Not just our direct family, our long-distance family, people we don't know, people that hate us, people that kicked us out of their shops. We still kind of care about them, My mum even prays for Daniel Andrews. Like, it's admirable, but it makes me cringe every time. But anyway, this caring character that we all have is beautiful. I love that about us, and we shouldn't change it. But it can be used against us, and it can be used to weaken us. And let me explain what I mean. There are many distractions right now. There are many different battlefields, so many different projects, so many different campaigns. And because we care about all of them and everyone, we try to do everything at once and we end up doing nothing well and burning out at the same time. You can't do everything at once. How many of you have seen people try to change the world and get burnt out and now they want nothing to do with any of it, right? So how do we protect ourselves from wasting our energy? And by the way, I think controlled opposition is not some spy guy in a signal group. I think controlled opposition is just finding ways to distract people like us. That could be that simple. If I'm on a Zoom meeting for 10 hours over 10 weeks on a stupid idea that's never going anywhere, that's a win. That's 10 hours that I'm not doing something else that could have been good, So after COVID, during COVID, it was really simple what to do. But now, with all these distractions, I had to formulate my own system to make sure that I could learn how to say no to things that weren't right for me and to figure out what is right for me energetically. And that is, I do this test. Before I do anything, and I get asked to do a lot of things, as you can imagine, so I've tested this theory a lot, and it works. I ask myself, will I enjoy it? Does it suit my natural skills and abilities? And will it have impact? Now, you won't always know if something has impact. You have to try and fail to learn things, obviously. I'm not telling you not to try things. But you've been in this for long enough, most of you. You should be able to look at the last 6 years of your activism, and you should be able to kind of guess if something will have impact. At least you should think about it, right? Now, if you enjoy something, but it doesn't suit your skills and it has no impact, why are you doing it? Ask yourself that question. Is it an ego thing? Does it make you feel better than somebody else? I've done it too. This is from experience, and I'm giving you this information, right? Now, if you don't enjoy it, but it suits your natural skills and abilities, and it has impact, suck it up and do it, please, because we need you to do that thing, right? Obviously, the ideal is all three, right? Now, if you enjoy it and it doesn't suit your skills, but it has impact, then bring somebody else onto the team who can do that skill faster than you can. Because if something takes me an hour that takes you 10 minutes, you should be doing that thing, right? Now, what I catch myself doing is, because I'm a bit of a provocateur, sometimes I do campaigns just because I think it's funny. And I have to stop myself because I'm just doing it for fun, and that's not a good enough reason, right? So, when the anti-free speech bill went through, I thought of this great idea. I was going to get everyone to mass report stupid things into their system, so it clogged up their system and they missed the actual maybe real ones, And that would have been funny, right? And my first one was I was going to complain about a post on Facebook that talked about pineapple on pizza. And I was going to say that that's really offensive, and I think that's hate speech, And then I was going to post it online, and I was going to get 15,000 people to do the same thing. Now, would it have been fun? Absolutely. Would it have clogged their systems? Absolutely. But what impact would it have had? None. It would have just been fun. So anyway, I spent an hour on it and I stopped myself from doing it. And then recently, well, about a year ago, I got asked to be the cover girl of a documentary about the Great Barrier Reef, right? That sounds really fun, right? I get to go snorkeling, I get maybe new clothes, maybe I'll get some nice photos taken, and I was like, oh. And then after 45 seconds, I realised that all the reasons I would do that one thing was for vanity. None of it had anything to do with my purpose, my goals in life, my mission in life. Now, the interesting thing is, if I had done that thing, yes, it would have been fun. No, it's not a negative thing, it's not a bad thing, but I would have come home and I would have realised that I'd wasted 3 months of my life on something that wasn't really a part of my mission. And instead, I was touring Australia, which is much more on par with my mission. So you get what I'm saying? And, over the next 3 weeks, if you can remember this part of my talk, maybe you can spend some time in the car while you're driving, make sure you listen to classical music so that you can still think, right? And have a think about the different campaigns that you've been a part of over the last 6 years and see if any of those things you did fit all of those 3 criteria. Because imagine if we knew where we were best suited to, what we were best suited to before the next thing happens, before the next big global whatever happens. Because before COVID, well, during COVID we were running around like headless chickens trying to do everything, right? Now we have the time to prepare mentally and physically, and we all have a place in this movement, and we just need to figure out what it is. Now, on top of that, we also need to learn how to manage our expectations. Now, everything I tell you tonight is not really new information. It's just reminding you of things you probably already know about, putting it into different perspectives. Now, managing expectations is so important because otherwise we get really disappointed when we lose, and we lose a lot of momentum. And I'll give you an example. During the 2022 federal election, if any of you have been involved in politics, you will have learnt what I needed to learn the hard way. I thought that the momentum was so good that I could change the entire federal parliament in one election cycle. I was totally convinced of that. And people told me, no, Monica, it's going to take, 6 years, 9 years. And I was like, no, you don't know what I know. You don't know the people I know. The passion is there. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. Anyway, they were right. And we failed miserably. And because my expectations were up here and the results were down here, I was so depressed, guys. I was depressed for like 2 months. I couldn't function properly. I was probably drinking too much. And I couldn't come up with ideas because I was so demoralised. Now, I've managed my expectations to the point where I knew that anti-free speech bill was going to go through. I'm a very hopeful person, you can tell that. But now I'm realistic as well. The same members of Parliament, a year and a half ago, voted for babies born alive from botched abortions to be left on the table to die slowly, okay? Why would I then expect those same people to make a moral decision? You can't. If nothing has changed and you expect something different, that's called insanity, right? So we've got to manage our expectations, and it's just a lot easier to live with yourself, And on that managing expectations, there are also, this whole bit is about energy and working smarter, not harder.
There's also some people who do not deserve our energy, unfortunately. And I'll tell you what I mean. Not long ago, about a year and a half ago, I should say, there was drag queen story times came into Australia, I know they're here as well.
Anyway, this first event happened in Victoria, of course, surprise, surprise. Anyway, the whole Freedom family came together and we stopped it. We managed to stop this drag queen story time, and we were so happy, and we patted ourselves on the back for 2 days because it's important to appreciate the wins, guys, because sometimes they're far and few between, so definitely celebrate them. But 2 days later, there was 50 more drag queen story times all around the country. And I didn't know what to do, and it stressed me out a lot because I care about those kids that I don't even know. And that's why you care about it too, right? So I was pacing the room. I went on hikes trying to hear God's inspiration of a campaign, somehow to stop it, Anyway, I did get something that I needed to hear, but not what I wanted to hear. And that was, it's what I needed to hear, but it wasn't what I expected, I should say. And that is, Monica, if a mother is going to bring her 2-year-old child to a drag queen story time, you can't help her. And you can't help that child. Not right now. That child is doomed unless there's a miracle. And you're not a miracle worker. You can be there after the miracle happens, but you can't make the miracle happen. Monica, you have to let them go. It's not your job to wake every single person up because you can't. So I put those people in the too hard basket over here, all right? We still love them, we still care about them, but we don't have energy for them right now. Now, if those people are your friends and family, I'm really sorry. That's hard. But the same rule applies. You still can't wake them up. But hopefully you can keep them at arm's length. You can keep them in your life. Don't talk about anything political. Keep them around so that if a miracle happens, you're there for them. But otherwise, you've got to let them go. They're unwake-upable right now, okay? Okay, so now those people are gone, unfortunately. Not gone forever, but gone from our mind. And let's say we have this much energy in our day to wake people up. This is 100% of our waking up energy, along with all the other things we have to do. There are people who deserve that energy, and they're over here for the purpose of this talk, and I call them horses. The reason I call them horses is because you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink, right? We are the people trying to lead them to water, okay? This is this 100% energy. We're bringing them to the water at the end of the paddock, right? They're all in this green paddock, this beautiful New Zealand green pasture. There's all these horses, and they're your cousins and your siblings and whatever it is. And we're just pulling them to this water at the end of the paddock. And sometimes they take a sip and we get excited, and then they spit it out again. And we're like, no, you were so close, you know? Now, these people are worth our energy. There's hope for them. They're good people. They're not stupid. They're still nice people, right? And that's why you keep working on these people. But is now the easiest time to wake them up? Well, I would argue that it's not. And the reason is because the things that we think are urgent, they do not think are urgent, okay? Digital ID, cashless society, chemtrails, 15-minute cities, they don't care. You know why? Because it's not affecting them. It's not hurting them. They're not suffering. Okay, during COVID, it was easy to wake up reasonable people because everyone was suffering and it was so obvious. Now it's not. So if you keep shoving this stuff in their face, they're going to block you and you're not going to be there when the door opens again. Now those people have seen the light, I promise you. They've seen a little bit of it, but they keep shutting the door. They've seen it. They know. But guess what? They're not ready. You know why? Because it's hard. It's really hard to wake up. Do you guys remember waking up, some of you? It was hard. It was 3 to 6 months of going down these rabbit holes, right? Crying, realizing how bad the world is. How am I going to survive in this world now that I know all this information? Some people never get out of the black holes. You know what the kind of people I'm talking about, you know? Now, if you've managed to scramble out of the black hole after 6 months, you get out and you're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to live like this with all this information? I mean, these horses over here, they're in fairyland and they're having a great time, all right? The government cares about them, the media's telling them the truth, they're just living their lives, you know? And if you love them, just let them enjoy it for a little longer, you know? Just let them have their fun because, you know, when some of those people wake up, it's going to be hard and they're going to need us. They're going to need our help. Some of those people have jabbed people, doctors, nurses. They're going to wake up and we're going to have to be strong for them. But right now is not the time to shove it in their faces because then they will block us and we will not be there for them when they're ready to open the door. So if you have this 100% of this energy, you could wake up someone now. People are waking up, obviously. But you'll need like 95% of your energy to wake up one horse. But when there's another global problem that's affecting all of us, you'll only need 5% of that energy to wake up that horse, and with the other 95%, you can wake up 19 more people. So it's not about forgetting about them, it's about waiting for the right opportunity, not like draining all of your energy in the meantime, and working smarter and not harder. So give yourselves a break and let them enjoy this fairyland green pasture for a little longer, right? Now, there's also a point where they might open the door for you, okay? And I'm going to give you some scenarios of how you can handle that. So let's say you're sitting at a cafe with your horse friend. You can think about the person that you're probably already thinking about, or one of them. And you're sitting at the cafe and they look up at the sky and they say, wow, the clouds look really weird today, you know? Now, what would you say? Oh yeah, I've been trying to tell you for 3 years. You know, and you'd go to your car and you'd get out a printout and you go, yeah, I've been waiting to give this to you for 3 years, you know, and you'd send them all these links on Telegram and, you know, they don't even have Telegram on their phone. No, do not do that, guys. The door will shut again because it's too much too quickly, right? What you need to do, in my opinion, is pretend like you're on a date and you're not being too desperate, okay? Don't be desperate to wake them up. They're going to smell it from a mile away, right? So you sit back in your chair at the cafe and you say, yeah, they do look kind of weird. I wonder what that is. Play dumb. Play a game, right? Another idea, because it encourages them to continue looking for themselves, yeah? Now, another idea is if you sent that same horse friend a link to a Telegram group or something about chemtrails 3 years ago, right? And they called you stupid. And then 3 years later, you get home tonight, you turn on your phone, and you've got a message from that horse friend with the exact same link saying, oh my goodness, I can't believe this, right? Again, what would you want to do? You would go back 3 years, you would screenshot it, and you would send it to them and say, yeah, I know, I told you 3 years ago. Okay, I understand that is a natural reaction. But how about this for an idea, right? You laugh to yourself or out loud, okay? But then you send them a message back and you say, wow, that's so interesting. Can you send me more about it? Encourage them to empower themselves to figure it out on their own, right? No one likes to be called stupid. No one likes to be late to the party, right? And if you're too hard on them, they'll shut the door. Now, in 6 months' time, you can tell them what you did and have a good laugh about it, right? Because I find that freedom people, generally speaking, we have so much passion, but not much tact and strategy. Sometimes, yeah. We feel like we owe it to our morals to say it all the time, in every situation, to the most of our passion abilities. But it's not really true. Like, you can be clever about it, yeah? And I'll give you more examples about it later, but not later, we don't have that much longer to go, don't worry. But now, I notice online and with social media that every mainstream media outlet is trying very hard to convince us that we are the minority, yeah? And that we are alone. I just don't believe it. And I'll tell you why. Because I've travelled alone a lot over the last 3 years, and I don't wear freedom t-shirts or anything like that. Well, I do sometimes, but I mean, not all the time. And I talk to random people. And I think I've talked to 350 or 400 different people around the world, and they all know something isn't right. None of them trust the government, none of them trust the mainstream media, but they will fall into it if their fear is ramped up, obviously. But not everyone is super stupid, okay? They know something's up. And so my lived experience is completely opposite to what they're trying to tell me. Someone told me about 3 events ago, they said, if they can convince you that you're alone, then they've won, you know? And so I think they spend a lot of energy doing that, and I'm trying to spend energy doing the opposite. Because I was in Bali about a year ago, and I was in the taxi, and he started talking to me about Agenda 2030 in his broken English in Bali, right? And I was so shocked. I was like, well, yeah, I know about it, but like, why are you talking about it with me? Like, isn't that, like, shouldn't you not talk to people about that? And he's like, why? And I'm like, he's like, doesn't everybody know? And I'm like, no, they don't. And he's like, oh, that's weird. And I was like, did you get vaccinated? And he said, no, nobody I know got vaccinated. They all got fake certificates. This is in Bali. I think because they are having to work every day to survive, they actually have less time to be brainwashed too. But we're not going to find that out. No one's going to tell us that unless we experience it ourselves, you know? And someone in Invercargill at the first event said to me, Monica, I'm the only awake person at my job and it's so hard, you know. And I said, oh, okay, that does sound hard. They must know that you're awake. Like, how do they know that you're awake? And he said, oh, well, they don't know I'm awake because I can't talk about it. And I said, what if they are doing the same thing? What if everyone is pretending to be asleep because they're too scared to speak up? And I think 80% of people are. Not everyone is as strong as us, and we've found a strength in speaking up, but there are a lot of people who can't do it. I've had people come to my events in Christchurch Two people had known each other for 10 years and did not know that they were awake, right? So how much is that happening? I believe that it's like a dam wall, right? And there's trickles of water that are breaking through the wall, yeah? We are those trickles. I don't know how many trickles it needs, but one of those trickles is going to break the whole wall, and it's going to be like a massive avalanche of awakeness. And we'll be like, where have you been? I've been waiting for you all this time, you know? And also, a lot of people have woken up since COVID, but they haven't joined VFF because they weren't desperate for connection. We don't know any of those people. But when stuff hits the fan again, we're going to see all those people. And if you get outside the cities and you go to caravan parks or small places where no one can hear you talking, you will get faith in humanity again. And I have that faith because of those experiences. So you should just trust me on that. And I have one more story to tell you before I get to the conclusion. Is in my home life, I live in an echo chamber, so I never get to speak to anybody who's against me because they know who I am. But anyway, I was on a plane one day and I got this great opportunity. This woman was from South Australia, but she was living in London during COVID, and I was on the window seat, she was sitting next to me, and we started talking about COVID. I don't know who brought it up, you know, might have been me. But anyway, she was telling me about London, and she had a partner who she loved dearly, who had an immunity problem, you know, and she was so scared of killing him, you know. She was so, the fear on her face was just palatable, and I decided to just sit and let her talk, and I just nodded along. I didn't make funny faces. I didn't get triggered. I didn't interrupt her. I just let her talk. And she was telling me she was so scared that she didn't want to touch the bin outside in case the bin guy touched the bin, and then she touched the bin, and then she touched her partner and killed him. You know? Yeah, it's funny, but the fear on her face was real. And I realized in that moment that everybody had a bad time during COVID, even those people who hated us. It's just, they thought they were doing the right thing and we thought we were doing the right thing. We actually, most of us had the right intentions. We just had different ideas of what the right thing was. This lady was obviously a lovely lady. Anyway, halfway through the conversation, I mentioned that I had written a book, but I didn't tell her what it was about yet. And then she took a breath and she said, "Oh, so where were you living during COVID?" And I said, "Oh, I was living in Victoria." And she goes, "Oh, you're so lucky. Daniel Andrews looked after you. He protected you. He saved your lives, you know?" And I'm still trying to keep my face straight. And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, all right, yep." Anyway, she's like, "Boris Johnson was having parties. He was so irresponsible. And he let unvaccinated nurses come in to treat my partner, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah." Anyway, so she spent 5 minutes praising Daniel Andrews, and then she took another breath, and she said, "Oh, so what's your book about, darling?" Oh, no. I'm on the window seat. It's a full flight. It's an hour and a half to go. I'm like, what do I do? This could be bad. Anyway, in that split second, I decided that because I let her speak for 10 minutes and did not interrupt her and respected her, maybe she'll give me the same respect. And she did. She did. I spoke for 10 minutes. I told my story. It's really important though. I was non-aggressive. I was non-confrontational. I just told it as an unbiased story, right? And she listened, and she was my mother's age, so she was mortified for me. She could not believe what happened to me. She was genuinely sorry for what happened to me. And I told her things like the brothel being open and the church being closed, and she was absolutely shocked. She said, "That's like communist China." And I'm like, "Yes, that's why we were protesting." She had no idea, and she was Australian from South Australia. And I realised that we're living in separate universes with these people. Some of it is their fault, but some of it isn't, guys, because the algorithms on your phone, they do not care why you are on their phones, right? They want you on the screens. So they're going to feed us content that reaffirms our views. They feed them content that reaffirms their views because they want both of us to be more extreme and more closed-minded. And it's happening on our side too, right? So have some sympathy for that. And the Daily Mail will write 2 articles on the same day saying exactly opposite things, but we will only see one and she will only see one, right? And that's what they want. They want us to hate each other. But when you get to this point where you can actually prick someone's bubble, it's amazing what could happen. Now, that woman, she bought my book online the next day. Yeah, and I don't know what happened to her, but I can tell you that the book must have done something. And the book is just like me in that conversation. It's very non-confrontational. So it actually has helped to get people into the water trough, if you know what I mean. Now, with these horses, we can't force them to drink, but we can definitely put salt in the food to get them to the water. You get it? Salt in the, okay, it works better in some crowds, but yeah. If you give salt to a horse, it drinks more. Yeah, that's the joke. Anyway, but the point is if you're in a situation like I was in that situation, give that stranger 5 minutes of your time. Don't get triggered. Let them talk. Don't interrupt them. Then when it's your turn to talk, if they interrupt you straight away and they're rude to you, then they're in this basket. Just walk away from them. They're not worth your energy and you've only wasted 5 minutes, right? But if they are a horse person, I guarantee you they will let you speak for around about the same amount of time that you let them speak. I have done this enough all over the world. That's just one story. And I guarantee you that that's how you can distinguish the difference between people. And I will tell you, you're not going to walk away from that conversation knowing that you changed their life. No, no, no. All you can do is plant the seeds and walk away, and they grow on their own. And you don't know what impact you had, but it doesn't really matter because you're doing what you can, right? Now, talking about saving energy, I know that someone in this room needs to hear this, probably more than one person, is that, you don't need to know everything. About everything. Yeah? Like, there's so much information out there, guys, and if you can't do anything about that particular project or that particular thing, why are you taking in all this information if you can't do anything about it? You know what happens? You bring it all into your body and it stores there and you've got nowhere for it to go, and it makes you anxious and stressed, and it does no good for anybody. You're literally better off taking your shoes off in the grass than you are watching depressing content all the time that you can't do anything about. And also, you don't need to choose sides on everything, okay? There are so many wars, there are so many conflicts now, and the social media, the mainstream media, the governments, they want us to pick sides on everything. Because what happens if you pick a side, your group gets smaller. Every time you pick a side, and all of a sudden we're alone again, which is where we started before COVID. And it's happening all over the place. You know what I'm talking about. Now, if you're passionate about something, obviously, jump down that rabbit hole as far as you need to go, become an expert on it. But you don't need to become an expert on everything, right? If you have 5 friends that you go to coffee with every fortnight to talk about conspiracies, or truth, whatever you want to call it, you could give one rabbit hole to each person so that they can be an expert on chemtrails, they can be an expert on fluoride or 1080, etc. And when you have a question about that topic, you can go to ask them. That's how you can conserve your energy. And also, you'll notice some of the influencers that you used to like during COVID, some of them have gone a little dark, yeah? They've gone really depressing, they've gone quite obsessive over certain things, and you love them, but you just can't watch them as much anymore. Look, give them a break. It's human nature that they're chasing engagement, and unfortunately, happy news doesn't get much engagement. Okay? Scary, dangerous, fearful, shocking stuff, end of the world stuff gets more views, right? So I don't blame them. I just think they've fallen into that trap, you know what I mean? But you as viewers, if you watch something and it's 80% fear and only 20% education, then maybe you can pause that for a little while, you know? If it's 80% education and 20% fear, then I think that's pretty fair, right? But you really have to conserve your energy because there's so many people on Telegram watching really depressing stuff, and after a while you're going to wake up one day and you're going to think that the world is ending and there's nothing you can do about it. And that's what they want you to think. They want you to think there's nothing you can do. And on that note, there's a lot of conflict within the conservative movement all over the world too, right? The infighting, we call it, right? Well, again, that's human nature. And if you guys know how to change human nature, please let me know afterwards, okay? But human nature is that there isn't a big problem anymore that unites us all. There's all these different problems. And if I think chemtrails are important and you think fluoride is more important, then you might attack me for not thinking your thing is more important, and I might attack you for... we're attacking each other for things that we disagree with. But if there's a big problem like COVID, I have complete faith that all of those people will come back together and it will be fine. Because sometimes it feels like we're never going to win because we're always fighting or something like that. During COVID, I was at the top of that tree during COVID, okay? And there was no infighting. Not even, I can't even tell you one story. You know why? Because it was us against them. And that was it. It didn't matter if you were Jewish, Palestinian, Catholic, Muslim, nobody cared. We were against the government. So just remember that when you feel a little bit like, you know, it's all too much and they're fighting too much. And I'm really nearly finished, I promise. I'm tired. Yeah, this is event number 28, so yeah. The last thing that I do, I trick myself into not being scared of things. And it's funny, people like us, we know about subliminal messaging and we know about brainwashing and propaganda. And because we know that it exists, we sometimes think that we're exempt from it. But it's not true. It's a very scientific, very strong thing that they do to us. And sometimes we see threatening headlines and threatening legislation, we get scared, and that's fair enough. But I'm going to teach you to concentrate more on the mistakes than the threats, okay? How many viruses and pandemics has there been since COVID? Like 15, right? Monkeypox, remember? Right? There was all these other ones like jungle fever and all these crazy names, right? And then recently there was the Nipah virus from India, from a bat. Again, surprise, surprise. Guess what? I saw an article that said that the Nipah virus was 100% kill rate. 100%. And nobody cares, right? All of those viruses were supposed to land. They were supposed to scare us, but they're not working, right? Then they try all these overseas conflicts to divide us. They're on the divide strategy right now. Right now is the divide strategy, so you've got to like really look out for it. But you think about, for example, the under 16 social media ban. You guys remember that in Australia? Now, all they could talk about on the media leading up to that under 16 social media ban was how they're going to legislate this and they're going to do this. And of course, we became scared. People like us were like, we're going to have to do the digital ID and stuff like that. Now, after it was brought in, there was crickets. They didn't talk about it anymore. You know why? Because it failed. Okay? There are under 16-year-olds trolling Anthony Albanese, telling him that they're still there. It's hilarious. On TikTok, right? It had a notification on TikTok saying, you have to be over 16 to use this app. Are you? Yes or no? Right? They love to tell you about the plans they have. They never tell you when they fail, and we forget to look for them, right? They're not going to tell you that the Wellington protest stopped something worse happening. They're not going to tell you that the Canberra protest stopped mandates, which it did. 2 weeks later, mandates stopped. They're not going to tell us that Agenda 2030 isn't working out and they're going to have to go to Agenda 2040. They're not going to tell us that, right? All they're going to do is convince us that everything is set up and there's nothing we can do to stop it, all right? Now think about digital ID, digital currencies and 15-minute cities. Let me just put some perspective in there for you. If you want to do 15-minute cities, now I get that these things are scary. I'm scared of them too. But let's think about the implementation of said things. So 15-minute cities, you would have to have a perfect digital ID system and a perfect cashless system for 15-minute cities to work, okay? On top of that, there would need to be reception all over the whole country, and I have driven all over New Zealand, and there is definitely not reception everywhere, okay? Also, you could have no natural disasters, no flooding, no slipping, no fires, okay? On top of that, you would have to convince everybody to comply, okay? Now think about all those people that spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on their shipping equipment and their cabins and their boats and this, that, and the other. Do you really think, after a lifetime of collecting all these beautiful outdoor things that they love to do, and that's their life, right? You think they're just going to drive their $200,000 boat into a 15-minute city and get a barcode on their wrist and say, yeah, I'm just going to live here for the rest of my life? I don't think so, right? So if you notice, if you actually think of the implementation, it takes the fear away. And you know that they're trying to scare us because we are the problem. We are actually their problem. The horses aren't the problem. These people aren't the problem. We are. So, isn't it plausible to imagine that 90% of the media is completely aimed at scaring us specifically, right? Because we are the ones standing in their way. There is no way that they thought we would still be catching up in little libraries
5 years later, right? There is no way, and they do not know what to do, in my opinion. Now, I am really going to finish things off now, is that other things that we have is my book, right? Now, it's $35, and the reason, it's aimed around prison, but obviously it's not just about prison. And actually, I tell my whole life story in here, which is colourful for other reasons than just prison, unfortunately. Maybe that prepared me for what was coming. But my ideal audience for this is actually teenage girls. I would love as many teenage girls to read this as possible. Obviously, adults like it too, but that's just my dream, is to get young women to read it. And if you have a young woman in your life, if you pay her $50 to read it, it will be money worth spent. Okay? I promise you. You read it first and then you'll know what I mean, okay? And the other thing is, if you can't afford $35 and you have a young lady in your life, then you can steal the book, okay? And I will tell you how to do that, all right? I mean that. The way that you steal the book is this. Is obviously you probably didn't know that we had so much for sale here. You probably didn't bring that much cash with you, although you should always have a little bit of cash with you. But if you whatever you want, you can take tonight and you can pay it online. We have a New Zealand bank account, but it's a Wise bank account, which means like it's an online bank. So if you pay us, it's going to say that the name doesn't match or whatever. Just press continue, right? So if you want to steal the book, you just take the book and you tell us you're going to pay online, and you never do, and we will never know, and you have my blessing, okay? But if you can afford it, you should not steal it, okay? We also have an audio book for $10, okay? And I just give you a piece of paper, right? But the bank account applies for anything that you want tonight, okay? Two more things. Do you guys know what this thing is? It's a Faraday bag, and if you put your phone in the middle here, it actually cuts off all the reception and all the listening devices, and so that you can't be tracked and you can't be listened to or marketed to. So that's cool. If you are planning to overthrow the government, you should put your phones in here. And if you are planning that, talk to me later. Anyway, the other practical uses, you are great. The other practical uses is if you have one of those modern cars with a keyless entry, you should put the fob in here every night, because people can actually break into your car from outside if the fob is near the door, but if you put it in here, they can't. Because same thing with credit cards. If you put your credit cards in here at the airports, no one can like scan it, if you know what I mean. And if you put your homeopathic remedies in here, they will protect them. You don't have to put foil around them. These are 1 for $30, 2 for $50, 3 for $60, and after 3, they're $10 each, because we've got like 100 left, and I've got one more event. So take as many as you like, really. And I saw these online in New Zealand for $43 each, so it's a really good deal. And the last thing is we have big versions for your laptops, but also if you're having a dinner party, you go around the table, get everyone's phones, chuck them in there, and no one's going to get... And I should have done that tonight, because quite a few of you had notifications. Yes? It's okay. One of the other events, it was actually my phone. So that was fun. Now, if you have a smart meter at home, my mum has done the testing, and this actually stops the radiation. If you put it on the inside wall of the smart meter, it protects the radiation coming into your house. We know a lot of people that have bought cases for the other side of the smart meter, but that only protects outside, not inside. Especially if it's in your bedroom or lounge room. That's really important. If it's in the garage, it's not as important, okay? These are 55. And then I got some free stuff, which is lovely to finish on, and that is these stickers are free, so take them if you're going to use them, okay? Put them on your car. The reason I chose this word is because everyone wants freedom. They just have different ideas of what it is, right? And also, this isn't a logo, it's not a brand, it's no one's company, it's just a word, so no one is going to be ashamed to put it on their car. Now, only take them if you're going to use them, because I had to pay for them, okay? Now, the last thing is, these little wristbands have "We Are Ready" written on them, which is the name of my tour. And this is what you call positive subliminal messaging, right? I was feeling depressed 2 years ago. I didn't know what to do. I got these made. I wore it on my wrist for 3 months. And I woke up one day and I felt like I do now, which is ready for anything, you know? And people say, well, what are you ready for? And I'm like, I don't know. Tell me what it is and I'll tell you I'm ready. Because, you know what? It's just an easier way to live. Even if you don't feel ready right now, right? If you pretend to be readier, you will be happier. I promise you that. Now, you might not want to wear it because it might be ugly for some women on your wrist. I get that, right? So you can just put it on the mirror or put it on your fridge, or even scrunch it up and put it in the center of your car. You don't have to read it for your brain to recognize what it says. And I'm telling you, in 3 months' time, you're going to thank me, because I've given away like 25,000 of these around the world. I know it's a drop in the bucket, but hey, I haven't finished yet. I'm only 37. I got time. And look, I actually believe that we are ready, because I've met so many community groups in small villages that none of you know about because they don't want to be in a structure like a VFF structure, right? I've met freedom people all over the world doing amazing things that I do not have the time to tell you about, but I've met them, right? So this to me is not a gimmick. I actually believe that we are ready. And at least we can agree that we are more ready than we were before COVID. Can we agree with that? Yeah. COVID has made us better people, stronger people. We survived just by the skin of our tail, you know? And could you imagine life without having gone through COVID? It would be, I don't know what I would talk about anymore, to be honest. I don't know what I used to talk about, you know? So whatever's coming next, right? There is gonna be something big coming. I don't know when, okay? And I don't know exactly what it's gonna be, but I'm excited for whatever's on the other side of that thing, right? Because all those horses are going to wake up when that thing happens, right? And we need to conserve our energy for that time. We need to be positive that we're going to survive through it. And when I say survive, I mean, you know, the world will survive. Some of us, you know, we could starve to death. I mean, you know, things happen. You know, bad things happen, right? But people are going to be stronger for it, and they're going to wake up for it. And the more that you get excited about whatever's going to happen, because I am excited about what we become. I am excited about everyone waking up. And if you think about that, you'll actually start to almost look forward to it in a really maybe crazy way. I know I'm crazy, but like the slow boil of the frog, it's kind of doing my head in. What about you guys? You know, I want to fight, and when I don't mean physically fight, but I'm ready to kind of go again, and I'm excited for all the new people that have woken up with new energy to come into the fold so that we can mentor them, because we've been through it for so long. And we're younger now, we're only going to get older, we're only going to lose more energy. So once you start looking forward to it and believing that we are ready, nothing really scares you anymore, and then we're like halfway there, right? So that's the end of my talk. We are ready. That's it.
I'd just like to say, if you don't know Monica's mum and dad, they're down the back, and I'd just like to say congratulations for raising such a wonderful daughter. You've done a really great job.
In order to keep your rights and freedom alive, the story never ends.